why we use nested tables instead of v-arrays in our tables? It is because nested tables can sparse, means we can add as much variables as we wish inside of our nested table. For example, let's think about our previous example. We have 3 font types. What will we do if we need a new font type? Let's say we want to store the fax numbers anymore. What will we do for that? We need to change the size of the v-array. But can we do that? Let's try. Let's clear 3 and write 4 and run our code. As we can see, we have a problem. We cannot drop or replace a type with type or table dependence. That means we try to change a type that we used in a table and this is not valid. That means if you have any possibility of increasing the number of values, you need to use nested tables instead of v-arrays. Now, let's simply change our code and make some examples for the nested tables. First, we need to create a type for the nested tables. The only difference is we write table keyword instead of v-array. Let's change the name and phone numbers as v-array, and I'm deleting v-array and writing table. Let's clear up and run our code. Great. Now we need to create a table. Let's simply change the name first. Let's just name it with 2 for now. Do not forget to change the type name too. Now, in nested table, we have a little different structure than the v-arrays. We know that if we use a nested table within a table, a storage table is created for us. Now, we need to specify that we are using a nested table and storing that nested table in the storage table with a name that we will specify. Let me do the change and explain on that. Nested table, let's say phone number. Phone number is the name of our column, and store as phone numbers table. Now, we understand from the text that we are saying to the database our phone number is a nested table and the name of our storage table will be phone numbers table. We cannot directly query from that storage table. We don't have the privilege. Now let's create this table and make our inserts. As we can see, we created our table. The inserts are the same. We will just change the names because we have a different table and a different collection name now. But the object names are the same because we used the same objects in our nested table. So let's change our inserts. Let's change that into inserts. And in here, and phone numbers, and let's run it. Perfect, we did our inserts. I did not use extend method because this usage is the initialization. We use extend methods when we want to add a new row after the initialization. So no need to extend in these examples. We can initialize both v-arrays and nested tables with the same way. Now let's query from the table. It is exactly the same with how we did in v-arrays. So I simply change the table name and execute the select statement. Amps with phones 2. Let's run it. As we can see, we have our data. Now, to see the benefit of the nested table, now let's change the insert command and add some other values. So let's copy that. And paste in here. And let's change the names. And let me copy that. let's say the employee ID, and let's say work 2, 3, and 4. Now let's run it again. Not so important data. These values are just to show you if it works or not. Great, we could insert. Now let's query again. As we can see, with nested tables, there is no limit to add the values. But let me show you something. Let's simply query from the table. Let's just change the name of the table. This is the old table. So let's query again. As we can see, we have 2 columns but with different data. It is because we inserted a new row into our table with the same employee ID. So what if we want to add a new value inside of our nested table? How we can do that then? We can do that with updating. Now let's update our column and add the same columns into the other row. Update amps with fonts 2. Let me copy that. Set phone number is equal to n phone numbers. Now let's copy and paste the values from the insert. And run the update. But before that, let me write the employee ID is equal to 11. And let's change these to 6, 7, and 8. Employee ID. So let's clear up and run again. As we can see, our row is updated. Now let's see if it is updated or not. Great. Now, even if we want to add a new value into our nested table, we updated whole column. We may make some mistakes on that. We may change some existing ones unintentionally. So, can we add a new value without the update? No. To do that, we can write some plsql code. Let's see how to do that. Declare. Since our nested table resides in the database, we can directly create a variable with that type. Let's say p_num and phone numbers. And our begin keyword. Now we need to get the values from the database into our new variable. Select phone number into p_num from amps with phones, where employee ID is equal to 11. Now we will extend our nested table to add our new value, pnum.extend. Now we know that we have 4 values inside of our nested table with the employee ID of 10. So our next value will have the index of 5. Let's say p_num and the index 5 is equal to t phone number. Let's say fax. And the value is 999.99.999. As we can see, we assigned a new value into our nested table. Now we need to update our column with the new values of our nested table. Update amps with phone numbers. Set phone number is equal to p_num, where employee ID is equal to 11 again. And our end keyword. Now let's run and see if we could do that correctly. We have an error, cannot insert null object into object tables or nested tables. So why is that? It is because we have 5 elements in our column, but in here we try to add the index of 5. Now we need to change this with 6 and try to run our code again. Great, we could insert a new value. Let's run our query again and see if we could do that. As we can see, not so easy, but not so hard too. It's a bit difficult to modify than a database table, but since this is fast, we can think this way too. We store nested tables and view arrays inside of our tables when we need some performance, especially in big tables. Alright, I think we learned everything that we need about collections. So this is the end of the lecture. See you in the next lessons.